From years of anxiety to warrior and mentor, Bradley Robinson created the Anxiety Project to help you end your anxiety naturally. Let's mold the new you and let's end anxiety together.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Anxiety Project podcast number 10. I am Brad Robinson, and today I got a really important podcast. It's an anxiety story of myself. It's an event that happened with me when I was suffering from health anxiety, and I just wanted to share my experience with it and how I got to this point in my life from that point in my life. And I want to start out by saying that it was a very long journey for me. When I started my recovery, I realized that I was suffering for a very long time and I didn't even know it. My brain was programmed a certain way since I was a child until the start of my recovery. So it was so ingrained in me, my ways of thinking, that I experienced a lot of resistance to my recovery. I experienced a lot of doubt and a lot of ups and downs. But a lot of people, everybody that goes through anxiety recovery goes through ups and downs. It's a very windy road, and it could be a long road, and depending on the severity of your anxiety. Now, I'm going to talk about the story of me going back to schooling. Now, to give you a little history about myself, I studied broadcasting and film, and I graduated from college in 2012. And I went on to work in television. I worked on some movie sets and television sets, stuff like that. And I worked specifically with the camera operators, camera equipment, stuff like that. I did some documentary pieces and a lot of stuff. And I wanted to get into a certain program. I wanted to get into a college course to help further my education. And this was around the time when I experienced a big panic attack that set off a series of panic attacks that I didn't know. Well, I didn't know what was going on. This was the time when I became so sensitized to everything around me. I was sensitized. I woke up every morning and I was checking in internally, hoping that my day would go okay and that I would just survive the day. Waking up and wondering where the sensations are. When are they going to show up? And how do I maintain these sensations? This was my mindset at the time. And I started the course, and the first day I arrived there, I drove my car there. I was in the parking lot, and I was very sensitized. I was worried about what if, I don't get there on time. What if, I experience a panic attack in class? What if, I can't get through the day and I won't get my certificate? What if, and then I got to class and I was very quiet. I sat there, and then I was checking in internally. I was checking in, what's going to happen here if I have to leave because of a panic attack? What if I leave, then I won't be able to get my certificate. I won't be able to come back into the classroom. This was a 2-week course. Now, I was sitting in class that time, and there was a PowerPoint presentation, a lot of slides, and I was sitting there, and I was completely internal. I was focused on my sensations. I felt a lot of depersonalization. I was trying to breathe properly. I was scared. I was tense. I put my arms behind my back in the chair just to try and try a breathing technique at the time. And when I was sitting in my chair, and I doodled in my notepad just to try and distract me. This was all going on, and if you ever have gone through like panic attacks or like extreme anxiety like this, you know the pain. It is very, very scary. It's the fear of dying. And that's why anxiety sufferers are so strong. And because you experience death on a daily basis. Remember that. As an anxiety sufferer, what you go through internally is you're facing death. You're facing embarrassment. You're facing the worst fears you could ever imagine come true daily. So to say that anxiety sufferers are weak, anxiety sufferers are weak-minded, anxiety sufferers, absolutely not. They're not at the right place where they need to be, but anxiety sufferers are so strong, absolutely strong. And they are the strongest people out there, because a lot of the successful people that we see in Hollywood or any successful celebrity or someone we look up to have gone through some sort of anxiety and mental health, because it's a struggle, and once you overcome it, you can take on anything. It makes people so much stronger. But getting back to the story, at the time when I was sitting in class, it was absolutely terrifying to me. It was I didn't know. I thought people were judging me, that, oh, look at his sensations. That guy is acting weird. And this is how I viewed myself. I viewed myself as this sensitive person, that no one will accept me, and I can't get like a beautiful girl that I want, and all of these feelings are going around and around and around, and that's just my identity. And I didn't know what was going on. There was an underlying root cause of my anxiety. There was a core belief in me that was creating this anxiety. And that's what is important to understand, is that there is an underlying belief. But anyways, how did I get to start my recovery? It's very simple. I basically reached emotional bankruptcy, which means that I was so depleted emotionally that I just gave up on my sensations. I just gave up on the trying to control myself. And I had to seek some knowledge. So I looked on the internet. I had to study what was going on. I had to listen to podcasts of people who gone through the exact same thing that I went through, because it's important that we connect to some people that we can relate to. And it's important to recognize somebody who has the same sensations as you do, and you can learn from them. You can become a student of anxiety. And then I had to, and you must sign a contract with yourself for 3 months to overcome anxiety, to do what you can. Give yourself some space and not force it. Because if you're like, I got to overcome this in a month, then you're adding too much pressure, and that's just anxiety you're adding anxiety to your recovery, and you don't want to do that. Okay, so when I got through the 2 weeks of school, it was a very sensitized 2 weeks. I by not running out of that classroom that day, I programmed in my subconscious that there's no need to fear that place, because when you run away from a situation, when you're running away from a panic attack and you're running out of the room, what that does is it's telling the subconscious that, hey, this is a scary place, and that if I come back here, that these sensations will show up again and the panic attack will come again. So if you stay in the room that you're having the panic attack, you're sending signals to the subconscious that, you know what, I'm having a panic attack, but by staying here, nothing's happening to me. I'm still alive. I'm still safe. So that is very crucial by staying there. So since I stayed in that class and I suffered extreme amounts of pain, each day got better and better. I still didn't know why. I just thought, like, you know what, I think things are getting better, so I'm happy, and I'm just going to maintain, that momentum. I'm just gonna enjoy that fact that I'm feeling better. But at the time, I had no idea what was going on with me. And so I got through the 2 weeks, and I was very happy because I congratulated myself for putting up with and going through such absolute terror, absolute emotions. And it's important to understand that without getting the knowledge of what's really going on internally, and how we can gain some momentum and how we can recover completely, it's very important that you continue listening to this podcast series. You find other role models in your life that you can use techniques that they're doing. I completely shifted my identity 180, and I don't act like I used to act. I don't partake in events and do things that I did in the past. What I did in the past, I'll just summarize habits that I had. They included drinking coffee 3 times a day. It included thinking patterns of, not thinking patterns, that too, but also I'm thinking of right now me daydreaming of future events happening. I daydreamed a lot. I wasn't in the present moment. That's definitely a habit I was in. Also, a habit was negative friends, hanging around people and talking about the negatives that's going on in their lives, your life, just talking about, the pains of family, the pains of, not getting where you want to be in life. Also, smoking marijuana often, and then that added more pressure because, like, I wasn't where I wanted to be in life, and then smoking weed on top of that didn't really relax me, but it increased my anxiety. It added fuel to my anxiety, and that's why I quit. I stopped smoking weed. I got rid of all of those bad habits. And it's important to understand that if you're going through severe anxiety and stuff like that, we have to start from scratch. We have to become a student of ourselves, and we have to become a student of anxiety. And how do we become a student? Well, like I said, find a role model, find out what's going on internally. And the role model, like, the books didn't do it for me. I picked up an anxiety book, and I was reading through it, and I was going through severe health anxiety, and the book didn't do it because my attention span wasn't there. So the book was helpful but to some extent, I put the book down and I just couldn't stick with that. So I really enjoyed podcasts. Podcasts is something I could sit down and listen to and kind of write some notes on, the symptoms of anxiety and recognizing what is really going on, getting to the cause, getting to, recognizing my patterns, things like that. That's what really homed in for me. Like, that's what really stuck with me when I look back on my recovery is, starting and reaching that rock bottom where it's like, you know what, if I don't change now, then, I'm never going to change. And that's what did it for me is I started adapting a new outlook on my life. I wanted to be someone that, lived a fulfilling life that has income that that works around my own schedule and having control over myself. And that alone, having control, was huge. I had no control over my thinking. I had no control over my habits. I had no control over anything, right? And that's the big thing I had to work on. That was everything. No control and walking around sensitized with reflexive thoughts and a lot of negative thinking and feeling unhealthy, feeling that I'm weak and I won't be able to get to the state I want to get to, and confused about my career, and all of these things just built up so much that my anxiety was just I was walking around sensitized all the time. I didn't know what was going on. I was confused. It was a very scary time. And that there is a way out naturally. I didn't take any medications. I wanted to get rid of it naturally. I started improving on my different aspects of my character and things like that. But getting back to the original story of me in that schooling program, after that schooling program, it snowballed into health anxiety. So it wasn't over yet. That schooling program, it triggered health anxiety. I thought I had something wrong with my kidneys at one point because I was feeling pains, but the pains weren't necessarily from anything serious. They were actually repressed emotional issues that were stored in my body that was causing me some severe pain, and I didn't even know what that was. And then, like I said before, it's about getting knowledgeable and understanding that we can experience a lot of physical pain through our subconscious. That is the subconscious way of telling you that there's something you need to deal with. There's a repressed emotional issue here that you need to recognize. And that's what that was. So I hope this story gave you some understanding of anxiety. I hope it related to what you're going through in some way. And that's all I have for you today, guys. Remember, we can get through anxiety together. I love you guys so much. Please rate and review this podcast. I would really much appreciate that. And I'll start continuing putting out podcasts weekly. Right now, I'm doing some studying. I'm going through a new course that will further benefit you guys because it's a continuation of my anxiety studies. I am getting a certification for coaching. So I will be able to coach you warriors out there that are struggling right now. So just bear that in mind. And I'm going to do podcasts weekly once I get the studying completed and I have more time and stuff like that. So just bear with me, guys. I'm going to try and pump out podcasts more often. So that's all I have to say. And remember, we can get through anxiety together. Have a great day.